Good morning to everyone who has joined us for the seventh installation of the Catholic Community Foundation's Plan Giving 101 webinar series. Welcome back to those returning, and a special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. And as a quick reference, please know that all of our previous webinars were recorded and will be available in a shared follow-up link in the next day or two. My name is Jim Maslar, and I am a Catholic Philanthropic Advisor in the Archdiocese Office of Stewardship and Development. I'm joined today by our Executive Director, Jolinda Moore, and our Director of Major Gifts and Plan Gifts, Kim Pahovy. After I lead off with an introduction on today's plan giving vehicle, Kim will provide further insights into how our office administers and processes these gifts and how we can serve you, our parishes, schools, and agencies in that. Jolinda will be with us as a resource to answer any questions that might come up from participants throughout the webinar, particularly at the end during our open Q&A time. Over this past year and a half, we have been looking at some of the most popular and promising plan giving vehicles that have great potential for impacting your ministries, as well as your supporters' stewardship and legacy, from bequests to stock gifts to IRA gifts to endowments. Today, we will look at a very unique plan giving vehicle that can offer an attractive win-win for donor and ministry alike, the charitable gift annuity. We like to begin and end our webinars with 3 takeaways concerning the plan giving vehicle. So before we dive into the details of a charitable gift annuity and how they might benefit your donors and your ministry, these are 3 core ideas we hope you take away. Number 1, the gift that gives back. There is a unique charitable giving vehicle that provides a donor or loved one with supplemental retirement income and a legacy gift to your parish, school, or agency at their death. A charitable gift annuity can provide tax benefits to a donor, a nice middle ground for those hesitant to completely part with resources, and the enjoyment of setting up a tax-free legacy gift to their favorite ministry during life. And number 3, the Catholic Community Foundation administers CGAs exclusively for supporters of archdiocesan parishes, schools, and agencies, investing and growing the fund to maximize its impact to your ministry, which receives 100% of the remaining value at the end. Catholics are generous by nature. At least that is what I have found over the last 3 years working in the Office of Stewardship and Development, as I imagine you have too at your ministries. Most of us, I'd gathered, would love to be able to give a major gift to our favorite Catholic parish, school, or agency. Many of us do not, however, have that capacity at any one point in our lives. Family financial responsibilities, coupled with retirement and healthcare expenses and an unknown lifespan, can seemingly limit the feasibility of contributing a larger gift. Other times, people might naturally and understandably feel degrees of hesitancy with letting go of a portion of their well-earned assets or savings, even if to a ministry that they love and want to support. As discussed in previous webinars, leaving a gift in their will or designating your ministry as a beneficiary of a retirement or brokerage account are great options that speak to these concerns, with assets only being gifted after a donor has gone to the heavenly reward. Today's plan giving vehicle, however, can also provide a middle ground between charitable giving and financial limitations or anxieties, and potentially more, giving folks from any and all economic backgrounds a potentially empowering option. It is one that not only provides the satisfaction of making a gift to the church during a donor's life that will eventually benefit their favorite ministry, but one that can also provide income and tax benefits to a donor now. Many of our donors have found that charitable gift annuities offer a unique win-win opportunity for them, especially those nearing or in retirement. It is truly the gift that gives back. As a quick note, Kim will go into this in more detail later, The Catholic Community Foundations is one such organization which administers CGAs for the Archdiocese ministries. Let's take a brief look at what a charitable gift annuity actually is. A CGA is simply a contract made between a donor and a charity in which the charity provides the donor and/or a loved one with a fixed income stream for life in exchange for a sizable donation of cash or assets. Whatever value remains in the CGA when the donor dies is then transferred tax-free to the charity, with any specific designations named in the contract. In the meantime, the lump sum is invested by the charity and grown, maximizing the eventual gift and ensuring the fixed income payments for the donor's lifetime. There are similarities between a CGA and a regular annuity instrument. However, as you'll see, a CGA can also offer additional and meaningful advantages. There are 5 basic steps to a charitable gift annuity. Number 1, the donor and the sponsoring charity agree to an annuity rate or payment rate for the proposed CGA. This is the percentage that is applied to the lump sum gift to determine the annual payment amount the charity will provide them for the rest of their lives. Most charities, including the Catholic Community Foundation, utilize the suggested percentages of the American Council of Gift Annuities, a national organization that offers recommended rates based on IRS lifespan expectancy data, actuarial tables, the donor's age, and targeted gift return. Number 2, the donor gifts the lump sum to the charity to initiate the new fund, typically either cash or stock or mutual fund shares. Number 3, the charity then invests the lump sum gift and will continue to do so for the entirety of the CGA. Charities typically utilize professional investment management services, including the Catholic Community Foundation, as you'll see. Number 4, the charity begins annual payments to the donor or their chosen loved one. The donor can choose to receive this payment in monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual installments. There is also an option to defer payments to begin at a later date, and this can garner higher annuity rates. And number 5, upon the donor's death, the remaining value of the CGA fund is then gifted to the charity with any specific designations spelled out in the original contract, and the fund is closed. Let's take a quick look at a simple illustration of this process playing out. Jane is a 74-year-old woman who would like to establish a CGA with a sponsoring charity using a $25,000 lump sum gift. Utilizing the American Council of Gift Annuities suggested rates for a 74-year-old, Jane's payment rate is 5.2%. After Jane signs a simple contract detailing the CGA, the charity receives and immediately invests the lump sum. The charity applies the 5.2% rate to the $25,000 gift to determine the annual payment it will give to Jane. In this case, $1,300 per year. Jane enjoys these payments for many years and eventually passes away. At this point, the fund is closed and the remaining value is gifted to the charity with any further designations. In the Catholic Community Foundation's case, the gift is given to the donor's chosen archdiocesan parish, school, and/or agency, which they designated in the contract. The American Council of Gift Annuities' use of IRS expectancy tables, conservative return estimates, aims to produce a gift of approximately 50% of the original lump sum. In Jane's case, that would be approximately $12,500, which she had designated in thirds to her parish, her Catholic high school, and her local Catholic charities. Now, this illustration only showed some of the benefits Jane saw in establishing a CGA. Let's take a look at 4 potential benefits which a donor might find in a CGA that could benefit your ministry. Number 1, multiple tax benefits. When a person makes a gift for a CGA, they can receive several present and future tax benefits, namely in a partial tax deduction in the year of the lump sum gift. This is determined by IRS life expectancy tables, the donor's tax bracket and capital gains tax bracket, and the CGA's percentage, to simplify something more complex. In Jane's case, who's in the 22% tax bracket, her lump sum gift of $25,000 would provide a $11,600 charitable income tax deduction for her 2022 tax return. Partial income-free payments for the first years of the CGA. In Jane's case, $1,054 of her $1,300 annual payments would be considered tax-free and not part of her gross income until she turns 87. If using appreciated assets like stocks, bonds, or mutual funds, a portion of the capital gains tax is avoided, and the remaining portion is stretched over a number of years. Number 2, supplement retirement income. Some donors utilize the CGA payments as supplemental to their existing retirement income arrangements. These payments can, together with the donor's Social Security, 401k, or IRA income, contribute to a comfortable level of resources for monthly expenses. Because CGA payments are fixed and for life, they can provide a safe and reliable tool to a retirement strategy, no matter what the market does or how other investments perform. Number 3, higher return alternative. CGAs can provide an attractive alternative to low-risk investment instruments that some folks might use for retirement income, especially in today's interest rate environment. For example, certificates of deposit, money market funds, treasury notes, the S&P 500 dividend fund, they are all currently offering returns less than 2%. On the contrary, as you can see, CGAs can offer significantly higher returns in a safe instrument. Number 4, easy and meaningful. As Kim will go into more detail in a moment, CGAs are very simple to set up and require no cost to do so, and with a very low annual administrative fee. Typically, it is a 2 to 3 page document, and the payments are automatically deposited into a chosen bank account. A CGA also offers its most important and distinctive difference, a meaningful act of generosity and gratitude that incorporates a donor's beloved charity into their legacy, and all doing so while generating and providing income for the donor. Again, a CGA can provide that fulfilling middle ground, which allows simultaneously a legacy gift to your parish, school, or agency, and financial peace and benefit to the donor. Now I will turn it over to Kim, our Director of Major Gifts and Plan Gifts, to share more about the CGA process with the Catholic Community Foundation.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you to all of you who've joined us this morning. I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of what we do to help a donor go through the process of establishing a CGA. So when we're in discussions with the donor, the first step is that we ask them to complete an application in order to establish a new CGA. Then we move on to what we call an illustration. So we run a report that we call an illustration that helps the donor understand, based on his or her age and the amount of the gift, what the annuity payout will be to the donor. It also tells the donor what amount of charitable deduction they can expect. And the third step is, if the donor reviews the illustration and would like to proceed in establishing a CGA, we then move on to having them sign an agreement with the Catholic Community Foundation. The donor then will be asked to make their lump sum donation, and they're able to take a partial tax deduction for that year. The minimum required to fund a CGA with the Catholic Community Foundation is $10,000. Upon finalizing the new fund, a final illustration is created that actually has the actual numbers, the rates for that exact date that the agreement started, and a fixed payment amount is calculated for the donor. We work with Morgan Stanley, who is our CGA broker, to establish a schedule of fixed annuity payments. These may be quarterly, semi-annually, or annually based on the donor's desire. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the illustration. You can see on the left there on the screen that we prepared just a generic illustration for Mr. John Generous. That's the cover page of our illustration, which is actually about anywhere from 14 to 16 pages long. So I didn't include the whole thing for you to look at today, but some important notes that the illustration tells us. An illustration is basically a proposal for a donor who might be interested in establishing a CGA. And it is customized, as I said, for the individual donor based on the donor's age and the number of annuitants. Rates are determined annually by the American Council on Gift Annuities, which Jim had mentioned earlier in the presentation. The donor receives an income tax deduction for the amount transferred minus the value of the annuity received. A portion of these annuity payments will be tax-free income, and a portion will be considered ordinary income. The illustration lays all of that out for the donor. The donor will receive a 1099 form that they need to complete each year. And if the annuity is funded with appreciated securities, there's no capital gains tax due on the sale of the securities, and a portion of the annuity payments will be taxed as capital gains. So here's another example in addition to the one Jim shared earlier. I apologize, it's a little bit fuzzy on the screen. I copied and pasted from another document. But basically in this case study, our donor, Elizabeth, is 85 years old. She's on a fixed income, but finds that her expenses are less than her income, and she's accumulating large balances in her checking account. She currently has over $25,000 more than she needs to pay her bills. And she would like to support her favorite charity, but she's nervous to give away large amounts of money in case she might need more income for her future. And we do hear that from quite a few donors. And I think that's why the CGA has become popular and desirable for many donors. If Elizabeth funds a gift annuity with $25,000, she will receive a $13,849 charitable income tax deduction, which is an amazing savings. She would receive an annual annuity of $2,075 for the rest of her life. And of the above annuity, $1,600 of that approximately would be tax-free income, and only the remaining $436 would be considered ordinary income. These tax consequences would last for 7 years, after which 100% of the payments would switch over to ordinary income. So in our charitable gift annuity illustration, a donor will see a page like this, which basically tells the donor the payout rate they can expect. It also lets the donor know the amount of tax deduction they will receive, and it calculates the approximate value the charity will receive upon the donor's death. There are some limitations to a CGA agreement. So it's important for us to communicate that to donors up front when we're working with them. Basically, once payments to a donor begin, the agreement cannot be changed, nor can beneficiaries be added. Each CGA can only benefit one charity. To benefit multiple charities, a donor must take out additional CGAs. So in this case, CCF is considered the single charity. However, the donor can designate to multiple entities within the archdiocese, such as parishes, schools, agencies, and ministries. A donor must be 60 years of age to establish a CGA. Additional monies cannot be donated to the CGA at a later date. But I will note that CGAs have become so popular that although a donor cannot add monies to a CGA at a later date, a donor can take out additional CGAs. For instance, we have some donors that have nearly 24 CGAs, and each one is benefiting different organizations throughout the archdiocese. Unless a donor will have to pay income tax on the income stream they receive. Payments are fixed and they do not adjust for inflation. So those are some of the limitations we want to make sure people are aware of. However, I think from Jim's presentation earlier, you'll see the benefits outweigh the limitations. So in closing here, we're just trying to connect your donors to your mission through a planned gift. Explaining how a charitable gift annuity works and helping understand its benefits can be complex. So we do not expect any parish school or agency representatives to become experts on this planned giving subject. Instead, we simply ask for your help in promoting charitable gift annuities as a giving option to your parishioners or your donors. At that point, if a donor comes to you and says they want more information or they would like to go ahead and establish one, the CCF staff here can step in and handle the conversation with the donor from there. We will work with the donor to answer the questions, establish the fund, and ultimately benefit your organization. We keep you in the loop in this process and we work on your behalf. I would say with this planned giving vehicle or any other, it is important to note that even though we work with donors on a daily basis, we cannot offer financial advice. So we always encourage donors to consult their financial or legal advisors for their individual situation. And I also encourage you all to do the same. So that concludes the presentation part this morning. I will let you know that a recording will be emailed out to you within a day or two, and we will include a sample ad that you can run in your newsletter, in your bulletins, or on your websites, social media, etc. And we hope that you'll consider promoting CGAs as a great opportunity for donors to contribute to your organization. I think that's the end of my part. I thank you for being here today. I will recap our key takeaways. So number one, it's a gift that gives back. There is a unique charitable giving vehicle. This is a unique charitable vehicle that provides a donor or a loved one with supplemental retirement income and a legacy gift to your parish, school, or agency upon their death. A CGA can provide tax benefits to the donor, a nice middle ground for those hesitant to completely part with their resources, and the enjoyment of setting up a tax-free legacy gift to benefit their favorite ministry. The Catholic Community Foundation administers CGAs exclusively for donors who give to archdiocesan parishes, schools, and agencies. We invest and grow the fund through CCF to maximize its impact on your ministry, which will receive 100% of the remaining value of the CGA upon the donor's death. So I hope this has given you at least a little bit of an overview of CGAs. I'm going to turn it over to Jalinda Moore, who's going to lead a question and answer session. Hopefully we can answer all your questions.
Yeah, we've already gotten one great question, Kim. That came from Jennifer Buell. And it's a three-part question, so I'll read each question individually and answer it. How long has the Catholic Community Foundation been administering CGAs? The first record that I can find of our CGAs dates back to 1998. So many, many years CCF has been administering these. How many CGAs is CCF administering? Over the history of time, we've had the upwards, it appears, of over 220 CGAs. But as we ebb and flow based on new funds being created as well as death, over time, or today we're at about 67 that we're administering. And how is the value of the partial tax credit determined? That's a great question. And that goes back to the illustration that Kim provides. We rely on the illustration to provide those details as to how much is taxable income and how much is not. So that 18-page document that's provided to us, we work with a firm that provides all of those details to us and monitors the calculations of those. So that's what we rely on for the tax credit value.
Can I say one thing about that?
Yeah, please, Jim.
And Jennifer, just a further note on that, that amount that they come up with for the deduction in the year of the gift is based off of the IRS's projection of the gift's remaining value at that person's death. So they use life expectancy tables and conservative return amounts and federal rates and the CGAs rate to project what that gift might look like when that person, in their estimation, might die. And so that's where they get that charitable gift amount initially.
Great, thank you, Jim. Are there any other questions that you would either like to unmute and ask or chat or type into the chat function? Again, we're grateful for each of you being here today and taking the time. I know that in addition to those that are present, we've had several people email and ask that this presentation be shared with them. So thank you so much for your time, and anything we can do to assist you in directing you to the marketing materials that you can use or answer any questions that you might have, we'd be glad to do so. Thank you so much.